all of the talk, or most of the talk about the AFC Championship game is going to be about the offenses, rightfully so. Two great quarterbacks, talented offenses across the board, two exceptional small X-type receivers in Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase. And the first game, the regular season game between these two teams, was a shootout, 34-31. I've done some videos previewing multiple elements of that. One thing that struck me watching the Bengals offense against the Ravens, the Bengals defense against the Ravens in Week 7, was how multiple they were. And I've had the opportunity to watch probably 5 or 6 games throughout the course of the year. And notice how versatile they are, how physical, how they use their hands well. And I'm going to mention a couple of things in this video that, in my opinion, are evidence of certain drills or certain mentality that they have, I think, in practice. So this is going to be look at one possession from the Bengals' 34-31 win over the Chiefs about 1 month ago, right? By the time the game is played tomorrow. So to set the stage here, Kansas City scored 28 points. I got some notes I'm reading off of, obviously. Kansas City scored 28 points in the first half. Four touchdowns on 5 possessions. And then Byron Pringle also returned a kickoff for a touchdown in the final minute of the first half that would have made it 35-14. I think it would have made it 35-14. It got called back for a hold, but point being, the Chiefs' offense had its way in the first half. There can be no doubt about that at all, and I recognize that. I'm going to focus on this one possession and how I think it shows that the Bengals were able to come out in the second half and do some things right. So I'll read off possessions and some stats for the second half before I get into the breakdown. Chiefs had 3 possessions in the second half. They went 6 plays, punt, 6 plays, punt. And then their third possession, they only had 3 possessions in the second half. They only had 3. It's crazy. Was 11-play drive, 52 yards. So it's not like, less than 5 yards per play, a little less. And they had to get a field goal there to tie the game at 31. So they had their 2-touchdown lead. What could have been a 3-touchdown lead with Byron Pringle's kickoff return, but was called back. Their 2-touchdown lead, they had to get a field goal just to tie the game at 31. Of course, we all know the Bengals won it on a last-second field goal by McPherson. So I'm just setting the stage there for you that I'm aware of the fact that the Chiefs' offense took it to the Bengals in the first half. This possession, if you ask me, shows that multiple guys for the Bengals were being disruptive, physical. In my opinion, they had an attitude with the Chiefs where they weren't going to back down, and I don't think they will tomorrow. Do I think the Chiefs are going to win? My brain says yeah, but there's elements of my football brain and my coaching background that tells me that I think the Bengals are. So let's get into it. Jamar Chase has just scored on a 69-yard touchdown catch to pull the Bengals within 28-24, early third quarter. I think the Chiefs' first possession. 1st and 10, you can see the Chiefs are in 11 personnel. I think that's Kelsey right there. And then obviously this is a running back, so they're in 11 personnel. The Bengals are in their 4-2-5 nickel, so here's an inside backer and an inside backer. And then we're going to call 21, who I'm going to talk about multiple times in this video. We're going to call him the nickel strong safety, whatever you want to call him. He's a nickel. So it's 4-2-5 personnel. The one guy I'm going to talk about on this play is Wilson. He's going to do a nice job. Sorry. That's Jamar Chase's touchdown catch. Wilson's going to do a nice job on this trips concept by Hill. I think Hill's going to run here. I think Kelsey's going to check up. And then you get this short under here. So to me, the read goes 1, Hill, 2, Kelsey, and then 3, which I think is Pringle. And I think that's who Mahomes hits. So you can see there's a little bit of a double pump there. There's not a lot of pressure. These guys weren't winning all the time on the edge. I think Kansas City's tackles are very good at speed rush guys. But Hendrickson wins a couple times at just the right moment. But you can see he hits what's clearly the third read here. 1, 2, and then the guy who caught the ball was 3. So let's look at how Wilson played. I think it's Wilson, the inside backer. He stays inside leverage of 3 going vertical. Some coverages, like a cover 2, if 3 was going vertical, he would turn and run with him on the low inside hip, forcing the quarterback to throw it over the top. And hopefully the safeties can play it there. But that's not this coverage. He's holding the hook or the low hole. Really, it's the hook, if you ask me. And then he's also inside leverage of Kelsey. So the ball can be thrown to Kelsey, probably. but Wilson's going to be able to break on it. And then Mahomes goes to the third portion of the read, which is Pringle on the little shallow end. Here's the end zone angle. Wilson, you can see he's apexed out. What I mean by apex is this linebacker 51, who's grown on me. He's playing well, much better as the year goes on. He's clearly responsible for B gap. He's lined up in his B gap. Wilson is responsible for A gap, but he's apexed outside. Now you could also call some stunts to stunt this guy into the A gap, which then makes Wilson responsible for B gap. But in any case, he's apexed out. No matter what gap he's responsible for, he's lined up further this way than his gap responsibility illustrates. And he holds vertical underneath of it. Could Mahomes throw the ball here eventually? I mean, I don't think so, but maybe he could wait and lead this guy out here coming across. I'm talking about this guy right here. But he doesn't know exactly how much time he has. His back's turned to the left tackle. He goes to the third read and gets it out there. So at least they made Mahomes go to his third read. It was a quick read by him. Second play, 2nd and 5, 11 personnel again, and they go bunch. And this is one of my favorites, and this is where it really gets interesting if you ask me. The Bengals have their nickel guy, 21 here on the point man, lined up. You could be man. Probably looks like really zone to me. This is a split zone concept where you're going to get a guy going in motion, and that's going to pull this inside linebacker out. That's what the Bengals do. That's an inside linebacker. That's what they've done all year. This motion by Hill pulls him out. They did that to the Ravens. If you guys are Ravens fans, most of my channel is Ravens fans. Marquise Brown ran one of these, a wheel, against an inside linebacker in the first game in Baltimore. Had him beat, and we just never got the ball to him. So I'm gonna talk about that element a little more 2 plays from now. So they're running the ball against a lighter box. Cool, good play, right? Travis Kelsey is reading this DN just like Mahomes is. Mahomes gives it. I think Kelsey reads this as a keep because Kelsey's running out into the flats as if Mahomes is going to keep it and then possibly throw the ball to him. Regardless of who you think read it correctly, obviously at this point they would like Kelsey to kick him out and then run. Then this guy would be blocked and there'd be possibly a cutback. The cool element to this, if you ask me, the part that I like, besides the physicality, I'm a big DJ Reader fan at this point, and I love guys that he's standing his ground there. No, am I saying the offensive line was being a jerk? It might have been DJ Reader being a jerk, and who knows? But let's look at the gaps. Inside linebackers are moving with the motion. They're moving. I think Wilson's got this gap, and I think 51 has got this A gap. Well, 51 runs out of there, right? He runs out of there. Watch what 21 does. And he doesn't make the tackle, but he disrupts it. He jets inside. He takes Wilson's gap, the A gap. And then, again, Kelsey didn't block this D end, which I think is Hubbard. They're reading him. I think Kelsey, probably should have kicked him out, but the guys did step down. So, Kelsey misread it. Mahomes misread it. I don't know. But in any case, he steps down, fills the A gap, at least disrupts it. Hubbard is able to step down once the ball is given, and him and 65 are able to make the play. Cool job by the Bengals. They're very versatile. That's one of the things they do. They run the inside linebackers out of there, and then the nickel steps in to replace them. Hey, that's tough, man. A nickel DB stepping in there, playing A gap. But the Bengals have done it all year long. They've done it all year long. And again, the Bengals aren't going to back down. You see it right there. And you're going to see another example of it, I think, on this next play. Cool job by the nickel DB, if you ask me. Okay, now the Bengals, this is a 3rd and 2. And now they're lined up different. You still have a bunch to the offense's left, and you still have 21 here. So it looks the same, except the bunch is further out than the last play. They're further out. And the back is on the opposite side. I think the Bengals are expecting either this back to flip sides to this side, or they're anticipating motion. Because what they've done is, if you compare it to the last play, now they've got 55, this is Wilson here. He's apexed out, kind of splitting the difference between 3 and the tackle. He's maybe a little bit closer to 3 than I would anticipate. But not 24, who's a safety, a very versatile player as well, he's now, quote, in the box. I think they're expecting motion. I think they're expecting someone to motion, so 24 can go with the motion and play him man, and then these guys can step back over and play their typical inside linebacker position. I think that's why they're in this look, as opposed to maybe 24 being up high, and these two guys being moved over, shifted back over to where they normally would be lined up. So they're going to play 5 over 3 as a zone concept to the bunch side. So you see, you've got I'm talking about these 5 here, defenders for the Bengals. They're playing 5 over 3, and they match up well. And on the backside, they've got this little mesh concept by Kelsey, and then one of the receivers here. And so they switch it off. Now the backside corner goes with Kelsey. He's playing man. They're just playing man here until the back moves over, or until somebody moves in motion, and then that might change their coverage over there. But in any case, that corner right here is going to go with Kelsey on this little drag. Cool, typical, right? Backside X or backside receiver in trips, you play a man. Got it, makes sense. They've also got 24, the safety that I mentioned before. He's going to take this route over, and both of those routes are pretty well covered, right? Inside linebacker to the front side helps out with the backside corner on Kelsey. They've got a wall concept by 51 on this vertical, I think, by Hill, and this safety helps out as well. You'll see those guys match up with that. I mean, pretty good job of those two, obviously. 21 is going to zone off here. The corner is going to take a zone turn and zone off, and they're in pretty good relationship with the two guys that, potentially could be thrown. Mahomes could potentially throw the ball to in their zone. And then let's get to the pass rush part of it. I think Hendrickson, this is one where he's kind of getting a win here. And Hubbard is obviously winning on the top side as a speed rush. And they force Mahomes to scramble. That's the great thing about the Chiefs. They got all those weapons, and they got such great design and such smart coaches and an intelligent quarterback. And you play great coverage, a great call, if you ask me, by the Bengals. And then this guy just takes off for, I think, a 17-yard gain. But the cool thing about the Bengals is they believe in what they do. This time they rushed 4, and they played like hopefully I illustrated it well. They played 5 over 3, 1, 2, 3, those 5. Matching up with these 3 receivers. I know that, this inside backer helps out with that underneath route. But generally, I'm saying these 5 are generally assigned to these 3 routes. And we know it ends up being, attacking really everyone attacking that front side, except for Tyreek Hill is running to the opposite side. They go back to a similar type coverage, or maybe a partially similar type coverage 3 plays from now. This is where it gets interesting if you ask me. Hopefully this is interesting to you. I know I've talked for like 10 minutes about one possession. This is a 1st and 10, and the Chiefs go 21 personnel, and they go under center, and they run a power play, and there's just nothing there. I think they're trying to bully the Bengals at this point, and guys are just doing a great job across the board for the Bengals. I'm going to generally talk about the end zone angle here, but you can see there's no push. The all-22 is great. There's no push. There's no surge. I mean, here's the referee, side judge. It's not like you have guys that have been driven back. I mean, maybe there's one guy, he's probably being double-teamed is my guess, who's being moved a little bit. Yeah, Kelsey chips him a little bit. Just a 3-4 alignment for the Bengals, who are typically a 4-3 team, but they're very multiple. I think their defensive staff does a great job. And another example of a little bit extra here. Probably a little bit extra by the fullback, but 94 goes over to tell him what's up. And I don't know what was said, but you can imagine it's some stuff that, we wouldn't want to say in church or wouldn't want to say in front of our kids. I think this Bengals defense is going to stand up. I don't think they're going to back down at all. I'm interested as hell to see what they come out with in terms of their plan and how the Chiefs try to attack, because the second half, and I'm only showing you one possession. There was only 3, but I'm showing this one possession. It's very interesting to me how the Bengals adapted. You got motion coming across here, and nobody on screen right now gives a crap about this motion. Not 94, not 51, not 55. They're playing run. And you can see it's a power play. You got a kick out block by the fullback. That's the 2 guys that end up wrestling over here at the end of the play. But watch this fit by 51. First, he's going to fit the pulling guard, 73, right there, to clog that gap up. So just conceptually, so you know, the fullback is going to kick out 94. It's a power play if you're not familiar with it. then I'll try to explain it if you are. Hopefully I do a good job. 73 pulls and wraps, and 51 meets him and stuffs it in the hole. That's the left guard. And watch 51. You don't have a 5 technique here. You don't have a D end in this gap here that has to occupy this tight end. So this tight end can chip the D tackle, D end, whatever you want to call him. He can chip that guy up to the backside inside linebacker. Watch 51 fit off this chip and then progress block. Look at how he's just dipping a little bit with his right shoulder to get off the backside of that tight end's down block or that tight end's chip block. And because, look at the fit. Look at the fit. He's fitting good. 94 is condensing it, but keeping his outside arm free, old school 52 style. And the thing I love about Cincinnati's defense, the thing I have come to love, is how these guys up here play with their hands. I'm a big fan of DJ Reader. Mentioned that earlier on. Watch, they back block with the center on him. The guard comes down. And one thing that's happening is 55 can fast play it. 55 can fold over the top because of 2 reasons. The safety's fitting back in behind him, just like the second play I showed you, okay? But 55's not running out with the motion. He's going with the pulling guard. As soon as the guard pulls, he goes. 24 could play this backside A-gap, but it doesn't matter. Because look at 68. He's fighting pressure by this down block. He's fighting pressure. And then he's holding, what is now the A-gap. It's the front side A-gap now because the center steps here. So the gap that 68 holds is this gap here. It is a wider gap, but 68 is in that gap. 24 is able to play it. A beautiful job, if you ask me, by their defense across the board of playing gaps, attacking blocks, not giving an inch. Look at it. Look. You got 51 talking some stuff to him. Yeah, hey, I said something earlier in the year I didn't like about the Bengals defense. I didn't appreciate the fact that they would constantly grab the ball after the play. I think they're coached to do that in practice. And whether I like it or not as a Ravens fan, I respect it because it sets a tone. And it sets a nasty tone. Okay, 2nd and 9. I went way long on that play, but it was fun. 2nd and 9, you've got cover 2 man. 33 is on Kelsey. We're going to talk about that a lot in a minute. You got man here. You got man here and man here. I think this safety is going to drop back. And I think, so we're talking about 2 half-field safeties and man across the board and then man with the linebacker on the running back. Hendrickson gets another kind of a win on the left tackle. They're going to need more of this tomorrow to flush Mahomes out of the pocket. Hendrickson, if you don't know, is always on the Bengals' right. He kind of gets a win, forces Mahomes to go right. They're leveraging this number 2 receiver on the inside. So they're leveraging this number 2 receiver. This guy's going to jump to the inside and kind of wall him, and then this safety's going to roll over. So they're trying to push this guy out to where this safety can help. You see what I mean by leveraging? He's staying on the inside there, and it looks like the receiver's trying to fight back to the inside. So the Bengals know something about the routes, if you ask me. You got a man by the linebacker on the running back there, and then the guy we got to talk about is Flowers versus Kelsey. Watch how physical he is here. And look, Kelsey has an opportunity to catch the football, and he's going to catch this football most of the time. I'm not saying, hey, Flowers shut him down. No. The ball's in his hands, and he clearly is able to make that play. And he might make that play tomorrow. He might make a dozen plays tomorrow. He's a great player. But Flowers is forcing him to compete. He's under duress. Imagine you're walking down the street and you get to walk 6 blocks in New York City and nobody touches you. You're having a great day, right? Well, this ain't that kind of day. This is typical New York City for Kelsey. He's got contact before he finally is able to shake loose a little bit and get out here. Flowers is physical with him. They're fighting. They're hand fighting. That's great defense. And I don't even think Flowers is a starter for them. I know he plays a lot of special teams. I know he played against the Ravens twice. So then let's talk about one thing that I think I see evidence of. I think the Bengals have a rule in practice where if the ball hits the ground and the defense is on the field, you got to pick the ball up and you got to move. Because, look, that ball is clearly incomplete. I just think that's a mentality thing. And I've been a part of stuff like that before where you teach kids and players, like, balls on the ground, get up and run. And depending on your mood that day, or depending on what your perspective is as a defense overall, is how far you want them to run. That ball is clearly incomplete. 24 is still. I'm talking about an incomplete play, and what's done in the second and a half after the play. So I know that's kind of stupid on some level, but this is a mentality thing that the Bengals have. They're not going to back down. They're not going to give an inch. You see them talking shit back and forth to the Chiefs. Granted, this game was in Cincinnati, and tomorrow's game is in Kansas City. You see them picking the ball up, and I think they are well trained. That's my point with rambling so long about that. I think they are well trained, and they're disruptive as hell. And I think they understand things. I see evidence that they're really well prepared. When I see stuff like this, this guy's running this route, trying to shake loose, and I think it's supposed to go in here, and the Bengals know that. I see evidence that they are extremely well prepared, and I don't, it could be their defensive coordinator, could be some of their other defensive coaches. I mean, who the hell knows? But I respect what they do. Love the different coverages they play. Love how they play them. And Hendrickson, Hubbard, and 93, I forget his name, they're going to have to get some pressure tomorrow, somewhat like this, to force, only one half of the field to be available for Mahomes on a particular play. And you can see Kelsey didn't enjoy it at all. He's telling the ref, look, why'd my shoulder pad get messed up? Because he was being held. Obviously he was being held. But the Bengals are going to compete. All right, 3rd and 9. Really, really cool job by the Bengals, if you ask me. Multiple levels of this. I know this video is going on long. Hopefully you guys take the time to watch the whole thing and give me some feedback on it. I'm not real glad about my initial channel being gone, but I'm fired up to start a new one and hopefully put some cool content out for you guys. Looks like it's going to be a 4-man rush. It is not. One of these guys is not designed to rush at all, and the other one, Hubbard, is only designed to jam Kelsey. If you're a Ravens fan, you remember Oweh doing this earlier in the season. Whenever Kelsey is lined up tight to the line of scrimmage, why the hell not have an outside linebacker or DN get hands on him, or at least check him a little bit? It's not much of a bump here at all, but it's just enough to give Flowers, leverage. Kelsey's got to get outside, so that little chip is just enough to let Flowers now have some leverage. Okay, I'm on the inside, and I know where I got to defend. And I'm a great athlete, obviously, because I'm in the NFL, and I know I've only got out-breaking routes at this point. So that's one element to this rush. Obviously, it's almost an incompletion. All right, the other one. This inside linebacker, Wilson, very versatile player. He's walked up only to occupy the guard and or the running back. I haven't shown it to you, but initially this running back was lined up deeper. Mahomes and him communicated, and he walked up. I think they did that because they called a protection where the guard and the center were going to step to this nose, and then the back had this inside linebacker. So what have they done by doing that? They have isolated Hendrickson on the left tackle. By alignment and by scheme, the Bengals have dictated to the Chiefs that they now have a one-on-one. Well, let's watch what Hendrickson does. He wins, and he gets a QB hit on Mahomes. And they're just smart. They're just smart, guys. They got a smart coaching staff. The players go out and execute it. They're intelligent. Like, you have to give them credit. And then the last piece, they're physical, and they got playmakers. Guess who this is? This is number 21. The same guy that I talked about on the second play who filled a gap when there was motion going away from him. I think it was the second play. Same guy, same safety, same nickel who filled a gap against an NFL, 330-pound offensive lineman. Is now out here, gets turned around. He's got his back turned. He looks a little off balance here. Boom. Recovers. I wish I should have slowed it down. Recovers immediately and almost picks it off. This is a physical group of dudes. This is a well-coached group of guys. They are going to arrive in Kansas City pissed off. And the last piece of it, I think this is Tyreek Hill. They're going to have coverages. And in certain moments, they're not going to let him beat them, like this one. All right, it looks like to me you got a 3-safety defense here. Only really a 3-man rush. All right, there was somebody on my channel months ago who said you can't 3-man rush NFL quarterbacks. Well, here is an example of it happening and getting pressure and having great coverage. So let's talk about, for a moment, how they cover Tyreek Hill. Looks like a woozy 22 is on him, man, and I think this safety is dropping down to help out leverage-wise. Hill checks up. He checks up on a short route for whatever reason. But I believe this guy is here to help out on Hill. And if he runs, one of these routes, or if he tries to do this stuff that we've seen Tyreek Hill do before. Whatever the route tree looks like, I think the Bengals will be prepared for. Am I saying they're going to shut down the Chiefs? No. They're going to put themselves, their coaches, let me rephrase, their coaches are going to put their players in position to succeed. And again, it's clearly an incomplete pass. Look at what 55 does. They are coached to do this. They are coached to pick the ball up. They're coached to be physical. They're coached to be a little bit aggressive and have a little bit of extra intensity. And I think they're coached to win, for real. They did a great job. I have stated on film on my old channel, I believe the Bengals defense is what drastically changed the Ravens season offensively. Prior to the Bengals game, the Ravens offense was rolling. I think even the next week against the Vikings, they scored 34 points and won. But I have gone on record as stating that the Bengals, I think, put some things on film that other teams were able to use as a blueprint or as a guide. And I think that there's some real intelligence behind the planning and the execution of what they do. There's a reason why they do all of the things they do in games. And I think it comes back from their practice, from their game planning, and the players' commitment. So let me know what you guys think. This was only one possession. I took 25, 26 minutes talking about it, but I thought it was interesting that the previous 4 Chiefs possessions had netted them 4 touchdowns. And then this one, you see a lot of evidence, at least hopefully I presented it well to you. You see a lot of evidence that the Bengals are physical as hell and that they got a nasty streak to them defensively. There's a lot of attention paid to their offense. I think their defense should get more credit, particularly in the playoffs. I think they gave up 19 points to the Raiders, 16 points to the Titans, slowed the Titans' running game down enough to put Tannehill in positions where he had to throw the ball. And clearly the Chiefs' offense is a different threat. They don't care whether they run or throw. If there was a third type of offensive play to do, the Chiefs would have it mastered by now as well. Let me know what you guys think of the video in the comments section. Please consider subscribing to the channel to support me as I try to get this one up to 1,000 subscribers as fast as possible. Appreciate you guys' time.